On the next episode of Rick and Morty the Anime.
ポータルガンを使わず次元移動したぞ。おそらく時間軸の違うわしと貴様の体が接触したからだ。移動したければお前とハグすればいいのか？殴り合いで構わん。なんだここは。時空の狭間だ。第2ラウンド行くぞ。
An all-new Rick and Morty the Anime. Japanese language premieres next Saturday at midnight on Toonami and streaming on Max.
Tokito, stay focused!
On the next all-new episode of Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Swordsmith Village.
He split in two. One of them grew a head, while the other grew out a body. I'll take this one! If we can strike them simultaneously.
Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Swordsmith Village. Next Saturday at 12:30 a.m. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Hello everyone and welcome to Toonami Therapy. Today on August 14th of 2024, I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
And we're back from a hiatus of several weeks. And, well, fortunately for us, Toonami decided, let's put on marathons for a few weeks. So that actually worked out perfectly for us.
Yep.
Yeah, so before we get into that, let's just go over a few bits of news, that are relevant for our podcast. First, Toonami news. Well, we're going to be talking about it, but while we were on hiatus, they announced, yes, Demon Slayer, the Swordsmith Village arc is going to be on Toonami, so we'll get more Demon Slayer. Well, we've gotten more Demon Slayer. We watch it. We'll be discussing it. Let's see. We have confirmation, finally, after how long ago was it announced? But Uzumaki is coming to Toonami next month, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see how that is, because from what I've heard, it's a kind of weird manga series. I don't know how well it'll adapt to anime.
Housing Complex C, maybe.
What?
Housing Complex C, maybe. That quality of a show.
Well, I haven't read it, but but from what I've understand about it, it's kind of a weird series. It's kind of like it is a horror series. I know that much. Which explains why they're putting it on in September instead of October. But it's at least a famous one. Housing Complex C was an original. Look, as long as they don't spend half of the of the fourth and final episode with a monologue of everything, I think it'll be better than Housing Complex C. Okay.
Not a high bar to clear.
All right, so... Yeah, we've also apparently starting next week. They're going to be showing Rick and Morty the anime. We'll see how that works out. I haven't really seen much Rick and Morty. It was okay from what I saw. From what I saw, I think you'd probably like it less than I did. But we'll see how the anime goes. Although weirdly, apparently it's going to be subbed instead of dubbed, which is kind of weird to me. I'm thinking, why would you do... You've got the original voice actors for this series. Just use them.
I guess they wanted to feel like an anime.
I'm reminded of how Ruby Ice Queendom took forever to get the dub out. Even though, they've got all the voice actors. They are working like Rooster Teeth. Well, back when Rooster Teeth was around. I think the series got sold off later, but you've got presumably all the scripts. It's kind of weird you're taking so long, but anyway, so we've gotten that at least. Also, apparently they're changing the schedule, so My Hero Academia is back soon, although just reruns, but maybe that's a sign we'll be getting the new season soon.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah,
I want to see that new season.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I guess I might as well mention that My Hero Academia, yeah, the manga ended. Not last week, but the week before. It's over. In case.
Oh, it's over.
Yeah, it's finished. If anyone is curious about it, because you might be wondering, oh, was it a good or a bad ending? I'll say I don't think the ending would really change someone's opinion of the series. I mean, like, if you liked My Hero Academia at that point, you'd probably like the ending. If you didn't like it, you'd probably dislike the ending. You know, it's not one of those ones that I think will suddenly redeem a series you don't like, but it's also not an ending that will suddenly sink a series you were liking up until that point. One thing I guess I should just be aware is that, unlike say Bleach and Naruto, who kind of just said, "Hey, all these characters ended up with these characters. Hope that doesn't annoy you." My Hero Academia actually kind of didn't resolve any of the potential pairings.
Really? Oh wow, that sucks.
Yeah,
man.
The only ones we do get confirmation that two like side characters. If there's a bit where these two side characters, you see they've got rings. Presumably they got married, but we already knew those two characters were in a relationship, so that doesn't mean anything. Now, maybe there will be more My Hero Academia, but I'm just going to say, be aware that you're not really going to get much resolution in regards to pairings for better or for worse.
Yeah, see that's unfortunate because you need to have that final victory for the shippers. You have to have a result so you know whether your ship won or lost. If you just leave it ambiguous, like I don't know, Tenchi Muyo or something, then you don't get that satisfaction of knowing, yes, my pairing won. I mean, that was what was so great about Bleach. I mean, it was great that my pairing won, but and maybe it wouldn't have been as good if Ichigo and Rukia had gotten together. Then maybe I'd be singing a different tune right now. So,
okay. Right. One other thing I wanted to mention, because this actually doesn't relate to Toonami, but it does relate to some series that we watched for the podcast previously. Maybe you actually heard about this. I only found out about this after it came out last week. It was announced months beforehand, but I hadn't heard about it. We now, I think about 20 years after the original came out, there is now an official English release of Fate Stay Night, the game.
Oh, of the game. Oh, wow.
Yeah, the game. It's on Steam and on Switch. So yeah, when it first came out, it apparently had a bunch of really notable bugs on the Steam version, but apparently that got patched pretty quick. I actually have been trying it out. It's interesting, but be aware, if you've just seen the anime, you might think, oh, Fate Stay Night, that's probably an RPG or something. No, it's a visual novel, and emphasis on the novel part. It really is like reading a book, essentially, just with a bunch of, except like the visual part where you actually you see the characters and backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it basically...
Is it like a choose your own adventure thing?
In some ways, but there's not that many, like the points where you have choices, there's not that many of them. There are some, but I mean, I'm working my way through the prologue right now. That was the episode 0 of Unlimited Blade Works, so that's basically what that adapted. So far, there haven't been any choices, although I think they only start coming up in after the focus switches to Shiro. Anyway, I guess that's just the thing I would mention. But yeah, it definitely goes hard on the novel part of visual novel. It's like playing Phoenix Wright, except with more text and less input from the player. If a Phoenix Wright fan can imagine that. Okay. Anyway, yeah, maybe when I've gone through more of it, I'll be able to talk a little more about it. I just wanted to mention that. It does have a voice acting, but unfortunately, while the translation is in English, the voice acting is all in Japanese, which I found kind of distracting, so I just turned that off. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. If anyone's interested, for the record, I think for the next several days after this podcast goes up, it'll still be on 10% off when it just came out. Of course, maybe it's one of those things where, hey, the sale expires in 3 days. 3 days later, the sale will expire in 3 days. I have no idea. I think it's just a recent thing. Anyway, that has nothing to do with Toonami, really, but considering we did watch multiple Fate series, I thought I should mention it. The game was available in English before, but it was like a fan translation online. This is like the first, official one you can get. Translation seems okay to me. Anyway, so I just wanted to mention that. All right, now let's get into the stuff that I think people were actually here to listen to, or maybe you did want to just hear me talk about Fate Stay Night, the game. I don't know. I don't know why our listeners are here. But in the meantime, let's get into the Toonami stuff. Maybe once we're done with recapping all this stuff, I'll talk a little more about the game. But just in case, let's get into it. So, as we mentioned before, we now have Demon Slayer back. It's the Swordsmith Village arc, as it's called. It's an hour-long episode, and it's actually, I'm not sure exactly what episode number it is total. Let me just double check on that. I think it's episode 45. So, if you probably went into this episode thinking, oh man, I can't wait to see what happened to all of our favorite main characters right after the previous arc. Well, you're going to have to wait about 20 minutes to get to any of that, because instead we focused pretty much entirely on the, what are they called? I think they are called the Upper Moons. Basically, you might as well just call them the Espada.
Espada.
They have numbers too. But basically, the whole thing is that we see Muzan, the main villain of the series, who's called them together, and basically is telling them, hey, how I'm trying to do this stuff and get this thing. Why don't you help me out with that more? And that's basically that. I think the main point is just to try to introduce us to them. Anyway, so after that, we then do find out get caught up on what's been happening to our main characters. Tanjiro finally wakes up after being, comatose for a while. And then he needs to get a new sword because they got nicked. But the person who made the sword just sent him letters telling him he's really angry that he broke the sword again. So he has to go over to the Swordsmith Village to try to get a new sword. Some of the other people, tell him, yeah, we'll get a sword for you, no problem. And then, yeah, that's most of the stuff. We do meet one of the other Hashiras, the girl who's it's kind of weird because in the first the first season, and for that matter the Mugen Train arc, it's like, okay, there's no fan service. Suddenly it's like the arc after that, this one's like, all right, let's have a bunch of fan service now. Okay, but anyway, so yeah, I kind of rambled a bit towards the end there, but yeah, he's basically off to this village to get a new sword.
Now, can you explain to me that part where he had to ride on people's backs to get to the place?
Yeah, so what apparently they were doing was, the location of the village is supposed to be so absolutely top secret that they wouldn't let him know where it was. And so the idea was that he had to be brought there without knowing where it was. And so that's how he was being transported that way. And they had multiple people who would carry him multiple places because it's so top secret that none of them actually know the whole way, just part of it, so that no one can actually find the village based on all of that, which is why they switched over. It seemed like a kind of convoluted scheme to do all that, but that apparently is the explanation for all that.
But how did Nezuko get there?
I assume he was just, I can't remember. Was he carrying the box along with him? I know he had it, but I'm suddenly remembering. Did he have it on them when the person was carrying him? I can't remember. Let me hang on. I can let me pull this up and take a look quick on it. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, to the listener, sorry if you might hear a little bit on this when I start playing it. So let's see. Okay, Swordsmith Village arc, and here we go. First episode. It's just it's loading. Still waiting. It's by the way, has Crunchyroll been slow for you recently also? It seems like it takes longer to load stuff.
I haven't noticed a big difference, but my computer has been getting slower regardless, so I probably wouldn't be able to tell.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, something's not working. Maybe it's my browser. Maybe it's the room. I mean, the internet connection isn't super great there. That's why when we record this, we always do it without the video, so that because when we tried doing it with the video, it kept stuttering and all that stuff. So
Right.
So yeah, I'll look into that a little later. Do you have did you have any thoughts on this episode?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the first part, I'm not going to be too hard on it because there's a reason for it. I just didn't know what was going on. And then I fell asleep. And then, so then the next day, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch the thing from the top. And this time it'll make sense to me. I fell asleep again after the first part. So 2 consecutive days I fell asleep right whenever we saw Tanjiro in the bed. So a third day I had to come back and watch it, and I was like, okay, I'm starting with this part. So yeah, I watched that part. It was very entertaining, very funny. I really enjoyed that, especially the Inosuke parts, because he's always really funny. And yeah, I thought it was a pretty good. If you toss out the confusion of the first 15 minutes, then yeah, it was a pretty good start to the season.
Yeah. Okay, I was able to look at it. Weirdly, even though I couldn't get the video to work right on my computer, I pull out my cell phone, open the app, and then suddenly, wham, everything works totally fine. Yeah, the people were when they were carrying Tanjiro, he was while they were carrying him on their back, he was carrying that box with Nezuko in it on his back. So yeah, I think the issue I have with the opening is it's of course hey, here's all the here's the villain group, we're going to show you them. Like there's a scene all the time when they're introducing a group, whether it's like villain or hero. You want to try to introduce the characters, have them say at least a little thing so you can kind of get a little information about their personality or gimmicks. Like we did this basically when we introduced Hashira at the end of season 1. But the big problem with that is when you do it is the fact that, okay, you introduce them. The thing is, I can guarantee that I'm not going to remember basically any of the stuff revealed about them until we see them again and we get more specific information on them. I'm thinking about, okay, what do I remember from this? Okay, one of the demons is the guy who's obsessed with combat, but we already knew that because we met him before. One of them, the number 1, I think it is, the number 1 in there who hopefully won't be beaten as anticlimactically as the number 1 Espada was. But he seems to be kind of I guess, the sort of more honorable warrior guy. One of them is kind of a coward, and one of them has a voice that I kept thinking, oh, I've heard that voice before. Where was it? So I look it up and like, nope, I don't recognize any of these characters as having that voice. So that experience. And that's all I got, really. I'm sure we'll get more of it as it goes on, but it is, I tend not to remember those things that well. But yeah, when we got to the actual characters, it was a lot better, a lot more funny. I really did like the post-credits thing where they're wondering how long Inosuke was just like clinging to the ceiling, and you find out that he had been there for more than a day. Okay.
Yeah, that was funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Inosuke is really funny. So let's see. Okay, I guess that's all of we have to say about Demon Slayer so far. I have heard some people say they didn't really like this arc, but at least so far it's decent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've then got One Piece episode 679. So there's basically a bunch of fighting and stuff. Still, we do get to reveal that. Oh, I don't think it was technically revealed until this point, but yeah, the guy who Luffy knew and who took his sort of place in the Colosseum and then ate the flame fruit. Yes, it's Sabo, that character who was introduced very far into the series as someone who was really important to Luffy's backstory, but was never mentioned before that point. But yeah, he's here. We get confirmation and information about that. We find out that Doflamingo, even though he got decapitated, is not dead yet. Because, I mean, the fact is, if you're going to get decapitated, the only people who get decapitated on series like this usually are people who have like some sort of power that makes it so that it doesn't work on them.
Yeah.
It's like how in JoJo Part 4, because Josuke has the ability that he can heal people if he, touches them, except he can't do it to himself. So, of course, it's everyone except him who gets all the crazy injuries that he solves. But, yeah, and then Doflamingo is like, I must use the bird cage. And, yeah, I guess that's the, like, cliffhanger ending. What is this bird cage? I don't know. I just think it's fun. I just think it's a little weird that, oh yes, of course, this guy who has powers over string, that allows him to survive decapitation.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he just strings himself back together, but still, it's kind of like, wow, you'd think like powers over string would just be kind of, about on par with normal, but no, it's actually got some crazy stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have that much else to say about it, though. It was kind of just some stuff happened episode.
Yeah, wasn't that memorable an episode. I mean, I remember it, but there wasn't much to talk about.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So we got let's see, you didn't watch Naruto Shippuden episode 497. I don't really have too much to say about it, just focusing on Gaara, Kankuro, and Tamari. Well, mostly on Gaara and Kankuro, because Kankuro is like, we need to get the most amazing gifts for Naruto ever. We should do all these, and he just lists all these crazy things they need to do because he gets in this rivalry with Killer Bee. And that was kind of it.
Is really. Killer Bee still talking in rhyme?
Yes.
Yes. Now I wish I'd seen it.
Okay. Yeah, not too much else to say about it, but we got that. We had Gaara show up again, and who's of course got the not identical but really similar voice to Nephrite from Sailor Moon, who just got introduced in these episodes, but we'll get to that when we get to that. In the meantime, let's move on to the non-Toonami stuff. We've got Dark Gathering, episode 23. So, basically, Yayoi starts going to school again. but then it turns out one of her classmates has been possessed by those evil ghosts or spirits or whatever that are possessing people, and gets her and some of the other kids to sort of go on this ghost looking around for tour of the school, but then it's a little unclear about exactly what she does to them. I don't know if it's some sort of like weird dream or if she transports them to some alternate dimension, but they all end up in some apparently alternate version of the school where there's a bunch of hostile ghosts, and especially this one teacher who got framed for things by kids and by his students, killed himself, who wants to go after them. And that's the situation by the end of the episode. They're being stalked by this evil ghost teacher thing. After not liking a lot of the more recent episodes, I actually thought this one was pretty solid, which is kind of surprising to me because the other main characters aren't here. It's just Yoi and like some new characters we haven't seen before. But it worked for me. Maybe because it felt like they weren't just having Pokemon battles.
Yeah, I couldn't get into this one. For one thing, I was confused on whether it was a flashback or actually happening. So I was confused for much of the episode about whether this had already happened or whether it was happening or it was going to happen. I didn't know. So, I was a little confused. And I just felt like without Katero and without crap, I can't remember her name now. Orange-haired girl.
Aiko?
Yeah, her. Without them, it just wasn't that exciting. What have we got? 2 episodes left in the season?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I just really liked it. I actually thought it was even a little spooky, which is usually I don't really find it that particularly like spooky. Maybe a little unsettling sometimes, but I thought this episode actually kind of worked for me. Maybe because it did involve a bunch of these like other characters who aren't completely used to dealing with all this stuff. So I don't know. We'll see how it ends up being finished. It's a little interesting because there's a part where she mentions, they mention like the urban legends of school, and one was like Hanako, in the toilet, and I was like, oh, is this like a reference to like that series Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, which is about which is a manga about a this ghost that lives in the bathroom. But then I looked it up and found out, oh no, there's actually a Japanese legend about a girl named Hanako who haunts school toilets. So Toilet Bound Hanako-kun did not come up with it. It was just going based on like this already existing legend, and I guess this was just a reference to that legend. Or maybe it was also like a reference even to the manga veiled one. I don't know. It's the tricky part. It's like how do you say it? If there's like something, it's like if someone mentions something that seems like it's from that Sword in the Stone movie, and then something references like King Arthur, and like, oh, is it a reference to that or like the general Arthur mythos? So anyway, that's apparently all based on an actual legend. All right, not too much else to say about that. All right, so then after that we've got Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf, episode 6.
So it looks like they are captured, and it looks bad for Lawrence and for Holo, and then Holo becomes her full self, her giant wolf self, and ends up saving Lawrence and defeating the bad guys, and then eventually and then was this really bizarre scene, and I I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but this scene where Lawrence makes Holo promise that he's gonna uh, make her pay back the for the clothes that she's ruined. And at first it seems kind of stupid, but then it kind of works well whenever he's in the bed getting better again and he gets a message where he gets a payment for that many silver coins that he said she owed him. So I thought that was a nice touch, and I thought, okay, maybe that did work after all. And so now they're kind of a couple, and I think, and they're going north, and that's the episode.
Yeah, well, we made some jokes on the previous episode about how, wow, that was a really easy rescue mission. Well, turned out it actually wasn't so easy in the end. So I'd retract. Maybe I should retract those criticisms a little, but on the other hand, I guess it was pretty simple for them to get Holo. It was just getting out that was a little more complicated. Although ultimately, given that all she had to really do was turn into a giant wolf and beat all the enemies, maybe it wasn't so hard after all. So anyway, yeah, we that's basically what happens. So she got captured, got rescued, and then they're just off to their next adventure after we get even more merchant talk. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I have too much else to say about this episode.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode, actually.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't bad, just not too much to say. Alright. So then we're back, we're on Full Metal Panic Invisible Victory, episode 1, which I guess is episode 38 overall if you don't count Fumofu, but I'm just going to count them by the seasons because Fumofu makes the numbering confusing.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Just call it episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm doing this one, I assume.
Yes.
And I told you that Tesla's brother was bad news, and I didn't realize how correct I'd be about that because I didn't realize he was going to come back here in the 4th season, and I guess he's being set up as the villain. I guess he talks about how Garon and Gates both failed, which I still can't get over that Gates final line. You know, I could use a haircut. That was fantastic. But anyway, he and Tessa are now enemies if they weren't already. And now he shows up at Konami's room because, well, Konami is like the center of the universe. So everything centers around Konami, everything. And he basically wants her to come with him, and Sosuke tries firing at him, but he has protection from his robot things. So Sosuke and Konami escape and get into a car, a military car, and try to escape. And people are coming after Konami. Now, why? Well, just because she's one of the Whispered, I guess. But yeah, so basically Konami is in danger once again. And Sosuke, at least this time around, is there to try to stop it. So we'll find out how this goes. I thought it was a pretty good start to the season. I think it was really good because it brought back all the characters, and all of them played a role in this episode. So yeah, I liked it.
It's funny because I remember you suggested that we watch Full Metal Panic to begin with because you wanted to watch Invisible Victory but wanted to rewatch everything up until that point. And so we're finally here after a year, I think.
Oh, more than that. More than that. I've been kicking it around since like 2020, so we're finally here.
Yeah, so we made it. And you mentioned us seeing all the characters. Is there any particularly important character we didn't see yet? I think we got through everyone. We also had the student council president who got a lot of focus in Fumofu, but I don't remember him ever showing up outside of that before this. Did he ever show up in the main series before this?
I don't remember. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, so yeah, it looks like Leo, I guess, is going to be a pretty important villain. Then I don't know if he'll be the main villain of the series, but although we're pretty far into it, so I guess I'm not sure how you really I don't. Well, he's the only living villain right now, I think. So I guess that makes him the main villain at least now. Maybe he'll die at the end of this season for all I know. Yeah.
Or maybe Tessa will turn him back to the good side.
Maybe Tessa will turn evil and that will just solve all possible any love triangle issues. I don't think that'll happen, but that is a thing, because it seemed like in earlier, the first season, they were like, and Fumofu, they were really, like, trying to tease, love triangle, and then that part just kind of got dropped, with Tessa.
No, not really, because remember, in the final episode of Second Raid, she was ecstatic because Sosuke called her by her nickname, Tessa, and she was completely ecstatic about it, and she was like celebrating because she thought like she's making progress with him. So yeah, I don't think that was dropped.
Okay.
But it's possible it might be dropped this season.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that scene now. I forgot about it. Yeah. Like I said, I think I mentioned it before. I know this season doesn't conclude the story. I know there's more light novels that just hasn't adapted yet, although I'm not sure how much more. So we'll see, I guess, if it ends up on a satisfying note, even if it isn't the actual end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I thought this was a decent enough start to the season. We got, like, to show up, we got some information, we kind of started up on things. Yeah, it worked out okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So, then we've got the new series that it's an old series, but we're watching it, Yu Yu Hakusho, which I watched way back when it was on Toonami, but it's been so long and I kind of wanted to rewatch it, so I just brought it up here. So, anyway, let's get into it. So, in our first episode, our main character, we find out, is a socially maladjusted guy who apparently likes to wear green. However, when he sees a car is about to hit someone, he heroically pushes them out of the way and dies instead. But then he meets a blue-haired girl who tells him he actually didn't save anyone, and if he hadn't done anything, they would have been fine. Now, this blue-haired girl says her name is Aqua and tells Kazuma... Wait, wrong show. I'm talking about Konosuba. Sorry. Let's start again. Our main character is a socially maladjusted guy who apparently likes to wear green. However, when he sees a car about to hit someone, you get the joke. I won't say it all again. Anyway, so the blue-haired girl's name is Botan, and she tells Yusuke, our main character that, you know, well, you know, you died, but we weren't really expecting you to die, so we can give you a second chance to come back to life. And Yusuke's initially uninterested, but when he sees that, you know, a bunch of people he knew are actually really sad about him dying, decides to agree and goes off with her to go through some ordeal, she calls it, to try to bring him back to life. And yeah, that's the first episode. I've been wanting to make that joke for a while, by the way. A lame joke, but anyway. Anyway, so that's the opening of the series. I know I made the joke, but honestly, if you had just taken the first half of this episode and watched it normally, like, you would think, oh yeah, this is totally going to be an isekai series. And then it isn't. She doesn't like say, let's go off on an isekai adventure. She's like, yeah, you get to come back to life. If this was a new series, everyone would think it's the biggest subversion ever. But no, this is an old series. The original manga ran alongside Dragon Ball Z. So anyway, I just got to get all these jokes out of my system because I need to, because I'm not going to be able to do them again. Anyway, so that's the first episode. I thought it was pretty fun. I'm curious, what did you think?
I don't know. I have a lot of questions, you know, like is this entire show going to be about him trying to get back to life? And then at the very end, he gets back to life. I don't know. Is
that a rhetorical question? Do you want me to tell you, or do you want to wait and see?
Well, I'll wait for now.
Okay.
But yeah. I like the humor to the episode, but I didn't really understand much about the plot, you know, basically that, okay, he died and now he gets to go through an ordeal, which I don't know what that means, but in this situation, and now he's going to have the chance to come back to life. I guess I understood what was going on, but I don't understand how it's to be, I just don't understand the entertainment portion of it because it doesn't seem to me to be all that interesting of a plot. It's just like, okay, the guy died, now he's trying to get back to life, and that's it. You know, there's got to be more to it. So hopefully, as the show goes along, there will be something more to this other than what we saw in the first episode. So as the first episode goes, I don't think it did a very good job because it didn't really hook me all that much. So I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it convinced me that that I'm going to enjoy it. So we're in a wait and see mode with that.
Okay. Yeah, you bring these up, and yeah, these are some good points. Like, I thought the jokes were good, and I thought that it did a good job introducing characters, but it does kind of leave you not really clear on a bunch of things. I mean, a lot of the things you're talking about will be explained, for the record, but it doesn't really let you know too much about the kind of series it'll be. And it's kind of funny because a lot of the stuff you were saying, so this was the manga series by so this was Togashi's manga series before he made Hunter x Hunter. The original manga series this is based on was by the author of Hunter x Hunter's manga series. And I was just suddenly stopping thinking, well, everything you just said, doesn't that kind of apply to Hunter x Hunter's first episode? like I mean, I guess we know in that case, Gon wants to go out to find his father, but it's like, we're going to do the hunter exam. Well, what's the hunter exam? I don't know. We'll find out in later chapters. It's also like Hunter x Hunter in that it's a battle series that actually doesn't really have battles for a while. I've noticed. Anyway, so yeah, I liked it, but I do agree I probably could have done a little more to better establish the premise, because it doesn't really establish the premise so much as it sets up the series. Which is a weird way to say, because they normally are synonymous, but yeah, but on the whole, I think I liked it. It is interesting because it's an older series again. This was back when they actually bothered to dub a lot of the theme song. So if you watch this episode dubbed, the theme song is dubbed too. You don't see that much anymore. And actually, no, that reminded me of something I wanted to mention. Another older thing, when you get to the preview, it's done like, a Botan's doing it. She's like talking, she's doing the preview in character. That used to be something you saw a lot more often. Like Naruto did it, Bleach did it, Full Metal Panic did it, although it didn't do that in its new season so far, which was a little which I noticed. So that just suddenly made me realize that's something a lot of anime used to do, and series don't really do that much anymore. Not just a matter of of previews happening less, but like having the characters actually do it. You didn't see, like, Dark Gathering gives previews, but it's just like the narrator doing it. It's so much of like the, hey, here's the character actually doing it, doesn't really happen that much anymore, it seems. Okay. All right. And then, wow, well, there has been a lot of stuff we had to catch up on, but then we'll get back to the Toonami Rewind series, of which we've got a lot of episodes to go over. We've got, I think, Sailor Moon episodes 10 to 15.
Yeah, so did Ray get introduced before this, or I know I watched all these episodes. I just can't remember if she got introduced the week before we did this or not.
She was introduced in episode 10, the first of this batch.
Okay. Yeah, so this is mainly about Ray's introduction to the gang, and basically she doesn't get along with Soggy very well. Also, she sounds exactly like Darkness. So
I know.
You can't even see her anymore. I can't even see her. All I hear is Darkness. It's like, that's Darkness. That's not a different character. So yeah, so basically they have some misadventures, and the 6 episodes go by with only really one thing happen, which is Jadeite getting banished and Nephrite taking over. We are still yet to meet 2 of the sailors, Senshi, so we are quite a bit away from the whole gang getting together, because it wasn't even in the preview for this next one of getting to meet Jupiter yet. So I guess we're going to have to wait even longer to meet Jupiter, and then even longer to meet Venus. And even though they're doing 2 episodes at a time, this is really slogging around. So I don't know what to say about it. The episodes weren't bad, but we're just moving too slowly. That's all.
Well, you beat me to what I wanted to say, which is that Yes, Ray, she sounds exactly like Darkness. Now, we made jokes about how Luna sounded like Rukia, and she sounds like Rukia, but it's not exactly the same. Like, Ray, you could literally take her dialogue and just drop it into an episode of Konosuba where you and just take it and put it and dub it into an episode of Konosuba, and it would sound exactly like regular Darkness. It's Christina V is doing the exact same voice.
Yeah.
And it unfortunately is really distracting.
Yeah.
Especially because they're rather different characters. I legitimately keep thinking that Ray's there's gonna be some joke about her being into masochism or something, and it never does it. I will say she's probably my favorite character so far because she just cuts through so much nonsense. Like, Usagi's being stupid, and she just tells him, hey, you're being stupid, stop being stupid. And she says, hey, this guy looks just like Tuxedo Mask. He looks like Tuxedo Mask, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So she's a nice introduction, new character, although it is a little funny to look back and say, okay, so there are these monsters that it took all three of them to fight. Wow, it's a good thing those monsters didn't get used when it was just Usagi.
Yeah.
There's also these are going to be some sort of scattered observations. There were just so many episodes here. But there's the part where they all get so the bad guys are kidnapping people and bringing them to this alternate universe thing, and they end up there and try to rescue people, and then Tuxedo Mask just shows up and helps them leave, and you're just thinking, how did he get there? Is he did you ever watch Metabots? By the way,
What?
Metabots, the cartoon. Did you ever see it?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, I just bring up this fact that. So it was a series about people, who have kind of robots, and the robots fight each other. And a joke throughout the whole series is whenever there would be a battle between them, this one guy who calls himself Mr. Referee would show up and serve as the referee. And no matter how little sense it made, he would just pop up. Like the part where characters in some place and they start fighting, and he just bursts out of this trash can that's nearby and says he'll referee it, which means that he it's how did he get in there? Was he just waiting? Doesn't matter. That's a joke. And I'm thinking Tuxedo Mask is kind of like that. He just shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. One thing that's a little weird is it makes a point that Beryl is telling Jade, I will put you into eternal sleep. Why eternal sleep? Why not just kill him? What is the purpose of that even? And this is the uncensored one. This isn't Dragon Ball where characters always say, instead of kill, they say, I will send you to another dimension. So it's just kind of a weird thing there. Let's see. They do change up the opening monologue eventually. Where instead of Usagi just talking about herself, she mentions herself and the other two. Yeah. Oh, one final thing I wanted to mention. It was a little. It always does. I've mentioned it before that it's always been a little weird to me that Usagi always goes she criticizes the villain for whatever they're doing. Goes, in the name of the moon, I'll punish you. Which I don't mind it being a little cheesy, but it always felt like it was kind of out of character for her to just suddenly be super determined when she's not like that the rest of the time. But there was actually a joke on it when the other characters do it, and then she says, well, that's what I'm supposed to say.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, there's this cartoon series called Megas XLR. It was this sort of action comedy cartoon that was a parody of a lot of anime stuff. There's actually this great part in this one episode that just spoofed like the lengthy transformation sequences in Sailor Moon. Let me just look this up if I can mention the clip. Oh yeah, so if you go to like YouTube and you search up like it was from the episode, it was called Ultra Chicks. Like search up like Ultra Chicks transformation, it'll pop up. It's really funny. But anyway, a joke in each episode is the main character always lists off these things that the villain has done that annoy him. Which also, which I liked because it was just supposed to be a comedy and it kind of fit his personality. Although my favorite part was when he lists them up in other characters. Coop, none of that stuff's her fault, actually. Okay, oh, Magus XLR. I don't know if I'm doing a good job pitching it, but it was a pretty funny show. All right, that's enough. I could give some more scattered things, but we're already been here a while. Okay. Anything else to say about that before we move into Naruto?
Nope, that's about it.
All right, so we've got Naruto episodes 21 to 23. So basically, this is set up for the Chunin exams, but first we need to do a bit of padding with Iruka going around and testing them all to make sure they're ready for it. Yeah, so then they go in, they decide that they're going to go to it. They go to the place to participate in it. We do meet again some of the other sort of squads of Konoha, Shikamaru, Choji, and Kiba, Hinata, and Shino, and then also, we also get Rock Lee, Neji, Ten. Ten, you will be I don't know. It is just I'm just thinking about her because she's just a joke. The character everyone makes jokes about because she never does anything.
She doesn't even get paired up with anyone at the end either.
Now, so anyway, a lot of it is introductions to characters. Like we meet Rock Lee, we find out stuff about him. Like, oh yes, he's really strong, but he just only knows the physical tai jutsu. And, there's all that. The other big thing, I guess, is the fact we meet Kabuto, I don't know, it's a little interesting to look back at this scene and with what we learn about him later, we go, yeah, he seems weak, but he's actually literally he's actually basically the strongest person in that room.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's all of that. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. Most of this was just set up for the exam, which I think starts next episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that Ten thinks Sasuke is cute, so you have yet another girl falling for Sasuke, which I thought that was humorous. We have the whole Rock Lee versus Sasuke fight, which, like, at this point of the show, you honestly think, oh, Rock Lee must be really good. And it's like, later on, you realize it's like, oh, no, that was all just first season stuff. Yeah, so... And I just have to wonder, like, you got all these other people in here who have taken the test like multiple times and haven't passed, and somehow all the rookies just waltz right in here and they all pass. It just seems a little unrealistic. So yeah, that. I don't know.
Well, they haven't passed. They haven't passed this. They've only just been accepted to start the exam.
But we know they do. But we know they do all pass because This
don't.
happened years ago.
I know they all pass eventually, but I know they don't all pass in this one. I know because I remember after the time skip, it's mentioned that all of them pass the tuning exam. But I know they don't all pass in this exam. I just can't remember which ones pass and which ones don't. But not all of them are able to pass this time. I think that just happens off screen during the time skip for some of them.
Mhm.
The question I have, though, is they very clearly established, okay, you need to take it in teams of 3. Well, what happens if, since so many ninjas are in teams of 3, what happens if just one of them passes it? How do the others do it? Do they just grab someone to, like, form a temporary spot for them?
Yeah, that's something to think about.
Okay. Yep, alright. We'll move on from that, and we'll finish with Dragon Ball Z Kai episodes 16 and 18. So, let's see if I can remember exactly where we were. The problem with Dragon Ball Z is that I'm also, since it comes on like after like Naruto Shippuden, I usually watch it, and it's several episodes ahead of this, so I keep getting myself confused as to exactly where the Toonami Rewind stuff is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Goku gives Krillin the spirit bomb energy he has, and Krillin's throws it at Vegeta. Vegeta's able to dodge it, but Gohan's able to deflect it back to hit him, which deals a lot of damage to Vegeta. But it's still not enough to defeat him. But the good news for us is that Gohan does happen to see that thing Vegeta put up into the sky to let him transform into the giant ape. Well, Gohan finally sees it. It's a little weird he never saw it before now. But then he turns into one and starts beating up Vegeta. And although he's kind of lost control, though I guess they're able to sort of communicate him to make him just fight Vegeta. By the way, did that whole thing remind you of that bit from Attack on Titan where, Eren transforms but loses control and are trying to get him back to normal?
I didn't think of that.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, Vegeta's beaten. He leaves in his space pod. Krillin's gonna kill him, but Goku tells him, "Well, I just want to. You shouldn't kill him. I want to fight him again," which is. This works out for the better in the long term. With the information they have, that's really stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's that. They decide that they need to try to go to Namek because there might be Dragon Balls there. And then they manage to find the ship that Kami came here from because he was from Namek, and get it ready, and then they just Bulma, Gohan, and Krillin end up going off there, and that's basically it so far. They're going to try to get everyone back to life by heading to Namek.
Yeah. I love Angry Chi-Chi.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Angry Chi-Chi is the best, And then we got Bulma. Like, Bulma's really cool. And, I feel like if I had watched this Dragon Ball from the beginning, I wouldn't have talked down about it as much as I have, because this is actually very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's unintentionally funny at times, but it's at least making me laugh. So I'm enjoying watching it. So I like these episodes. These were pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, that was it. So they're going off. Goku's still on Earth, but you find some way to head back. Don't worry. Although Yeah, so there's that. We also do meet no, we saw him before, but we do see a bunch of Mr. Popo, who has unfortunately not the greatest character design nowadays.
Mhm.
I don't think I mean I doubt there's any offensive tended by it, but I mean like the way he looks is basically the reason why Jinxing Pokemon got recolored purple. Okay. So, now that we've gotten that, yeah, that's everything I think. And oh yeah, Chi-Chi, I did especially like the joke where she like just completely ignores Goku and is like fussing over Gohan at when they get there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to mention. Sorry, I overall really liked the fight against Vegeta, largely because it really was a legitimate team effort. So a number of times in Dragon Ball, I like the fights really just boil down to, well, a bunch of people fight and no one's able to beat the villain, but then one person shows up, usually Goku, and is able to do the job. And I really like the fact that, yeah, Goku did most of the work, but the others were, like, critical in this. Even Yajirobe played an important role. And he's, like, practically a comic relief character. So I really like to fight against Vegeta for that reason.
Yeah.
Okay. There. And that's all of our series now. And yeah, we've talked a while. And I guess we can give our top 3 scores for this week then.
Okay, so third place for me will be Demon Slayer. Second place will be Spice and Wolf. And the top spot, finally, after all this time, I finally have the honor of putting Full Metal Panic in first place on my top 3. It's the first time it's happened because I refused to do it for the first 3 seasons because I'd already seen those episodes. But since I never seen this before, I am putting it in at first place, and we'll see how it continues this season.
Okay, for me, I'll do Yu Yu Hakusho in third place, Demon Slayer in second, and yeah, let's do Full Metal Panic Invisible Victory in first.
Okay.
Okay. That's all of them then. So, now that we've gone through this, anything to talk about?
Yeah, I some time ago I wanted to watch a movie just to review it for the podcast. So I watched My Neighbor Totoro, which is like a really old movie, really famous movie, really popular movie, really well-reviewed movie. And I watched it, and I have to say, I do not, it's not for me. It's just, this movie is not for me. There's just so little plot to the movie. There's almost no plot at all. I mean, whatever plot there is, it moves by really slowly. So, for me, it was just boring. I just couldn't get into it. I mean, I'm sure maybe if you've got children, they would enjoy this more, but as an adult, like, I just kept expecting, okay, there's going to be something major that happens, and never happened. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's a children's thing, and I should accept it as that. But I just think I'm not a Ghibli guy. You know, like, people love Ghibli movies, and I have to say I didn't like this one. Nausicaa was okay, but not great. Castle in the Sky, I fell asleep during that movie, so Uh, um, yeah, I just can't really get into these Ghibli movies. I did like The Cat Returns though. That was a good one. Um, but yeah, this movie just wasn't for me.
Hmm. Did you see Spirited Away?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay. I think because I think that was one of their like, well, I don't know if it's the highest rated one. I'm just glancing over like the Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic scores, because nicely the Wikipedia article for them just lists all of that stuff. Looks like Grave of the Fireflies was like their best reviewed one, although it's also a series that like a film that I'm like, okay, what's this about? Okay, I think I'll be skipping on that one. It sounds way too depressing to me. But I remember thinking Spirited Away was good, although it was quite a while ago that I saw it. That movie came out in 2001? Wow.
Wow. Wow, indeed.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't ever seen My Neighbor Totoro, unfortunately, so I can't really
Yeah, you wouldn't like it.
okay.
I'm almost guaranteeing you wouldn't like it because you would come to the same conclusion to me, is not much happened. That's pretty much the my entire review for the movie could be just not much happened. So
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything I wanted to talk about? Well, there was some
yeah,
manga.
manga.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
manga I caught up on during the break, but we've also been going on for a while, so maybe I'll want to save some of them for later. I guess I did want to mention that one fairly new series that I've actually been liking is this one called Shiba Inu Rooms. It's on both Shonen Jump and Manga Plus. It's just kind of this fun. It's kind of this comedy about this person who gets this apartment, except it's got this ghost dog that lives there, which is kind of funny. It's funny because the dog's both often really grumpy, but it's also really dumb. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. It just like I just find it like a funny series, but one that's also kind of feel good. So yeah, I mean it's only got 7 chapters out so far. So who knows? Maybe the next chapter it'll become terrible. But I just wanted to at least mention that it's a new series that at least right now looks promising to me.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'll talk about more later on. For now, I don't have anything else to really talk about offhand. I mean, I might talk a little. I'd want to talk a little more about like the playing, or well, more accurately, reading Fate Stay Night, but I'm not really far enough in it yet.
Mhm.
So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And yes, that's I think everything then. So we'll see you all next week. We'll see if the Rick and Morty anime is good. I'm hoping it is, because
Mhm.
it seems so frequently that Toonami is just like, I'm thinking, okay, they better do something to add something that I'm going to be interested in, because I feel like I'm on the verge of not keeping up with it anymore and having to decide whether to keep the podcast name the same. But then they're like, oh no, wait, we got Demon Slayer. Come on, keep watching. I'm hoping we'll get My Hero Academia soon, because this will be the final season. Well, I have they said it's the final season. It's the final arc of the series, at least, but they might do it in multiple seasons. Apparently, they said the final season of Doctor Stone is going to be in 3 parts.
Oh boy, more Attack on Titan
Not
stuff there.
not as much as Bleach, where they said it was like where the final season is apparently I don't know if this is definite, but apparently it was going to be in 4 parts. We've only gotten the first 2
Oh
of
boy.
that. Yeah.
Hopefully that eventually comes to Toonami. That would like That would save Toonami, in my opinion. Like, they could get that. That would get a lot of buzz. It would.
It probably would. It's like the one anime that premiered its episodes on Hulu that managed to actually be pretty popular. That's like a criticism a lot of people are saying about Hulu or Disney Plus as it is in most countries, which is the fact that, they don't really advertise their anime very well, so it usually doesn't get much attention. Like, I saw one person saying, it seems like Netflix is the only service that's actually getting better with anime.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, they got a lot of criticism for some earlier stuff. I remember, like, when Komi Can't Communicate, for some reason, they were, like, 2 weeks behind the actual release of that series in Japan. Like, they weren't, like, simultaneously casting it. It was, like, 2 weeks behind. And now it's like, oh, yeah, Delicious in Dungeon. Yeah, we're keeping pace with that. We've got day one dubs in like every language, so they at least seem to be getting their act together in regards to that. That's one of the reasons why Delicious in Dungeon was pretty popular. So okay, all right, and I think that's it for it. Really, I don't think there's anything else I have to say right now. So we'll see you all next week, and we'll try to do better next time.
Bye.
The left-hander, D-Train, Dontrell Willis.
Hi, I'm Dontrell Willis of the World Championship Florida Marlins. I'm from Oakland, so big A's fan, so just growing up around the corner from the park was a big influence on me playing baseball.
Some of you may be wondering where Dontrell got his unorthodox windup.
I've always thrown like that, so, just, being in that comfort level, they don't know how to fix it because they don't know where to begin. So they just, as long as he's throwing strikes, he's not hitting people, leave him alone.
Swing, and a miss.
The Marlins riding the back of Big D-Train, Dontrell Willis.
A teammate of mine called me D-Train in front of a reporter, and the reporter just ran with it, and all of a sudden people just started chewing at me, and so it kind of spread like wildfire. I'm one of the few rookies that has one, so I'm going to run with it. Baseball, it's a game built off failure, Learning to deal with adversity, I think, is one of the things, because, if you go 3 for 10, you're still in the Hall of Fame, but that means you failed 7 times. So it's one of those things where you learn how to be competitive and you learn how to, lose in a professional manner. Oh, man, just have fun. Life is short. Just have fun and work hard and just be really appreciative of anything you have. I mean, every day, I try to tell myself to have fun. It's not a job. It's a backyard game, and sometimes, because of the crowd and what have you, you lose sight of that. But it's a backyard game and just have fun. This is Dontrell Willis, and you're watching Toonami.